Today we will be determining the area and circumference of a circle. But notice our problems are a little bit different than yesterday. We do not have a picture. We're given a word problem. So we're looking at them in real life situations. And before I get started, since I know I'm working with area and circumference of a circle, I'm going to write my formulas up top. Area is a little word, and I remember that the little part of the circle is the radius. So the formula for area is A equals pi times r squared. Since the radius is little, I need to square it. And circumference is a long word, just like the long part of a circle is a diameter. So circumference equals pi times d. So we're going to read our first problem. It says, Mrs. Jones just bought a brand new above ground circular pool. She's going to put it in her backyard. If the diameter of the pool is 25 feet, what is the least amount of space she needs for the pool? So the first thing I want to do is highlight my key information. So I've got the word diameter, which goes with the circle, 25 feet, and I've got the fact that it's a circular pool. And my question says, what is the least amount of space she needs for the pool? So I'm going to draw a little picture of my pool. If I'm looking down, here's my ground. So if I'm putting a circular pool on my ground, it's going to look like this. And I know that the diameter of the pool is 25 feet. Diameter is the big long word, so that's the long line that goes across, and that's 25 feet. Now the space. Space means the pool, which is the whole inside that it's going to take up. So I'm talking about area for this question. So area equals pi times radius squared. We know that pi is 3.14 times, now this is the diameter, I want the radius. And remember, the radius is half of that. So I'm going to take my calculator, and I'm going to do 25 divided by 2, and I get 12.5. So my radius is 12.5. So I'm going to put that in my equation, 12.5, and it needs to be squared. So I'm going to put up my calculator. I've got 3.14 times 12.5, and I'm going to use my x to the power 2 button for squared, and hit enter, and I get 490.625. And since it's a terminating decimal, I'm just going to leave it there. So that's my area, but my question is, what's the least amount of space? So she's going to need 490.625 thousandths, and what was this? Feet squared, in order to put that pool in her yard. And that's the answer to my question. So let's look at our second word problem. Slide that up. And it says, Mr. Johnson is building a circular pond in his front yard. He plans on putting a short fence around the pond. If the radius of the pond is 6.8 feet, how much fencing will he need? So let me get my facts. I know that it's a circular pond. He's putting a fence around the pond, and the radius is 6.8 feet. And I want to know, how much fencing will he need? So I'm going to draw my circular pond. I'm going to draw the fact that the radius is from the middle out, is 6.8 feet. And then I'm going to look at my picture. It wants to know how much fencing. Well, I know the fence goes around, because it says around. So it's going around the pond. So that tells me that I need to find the circumference, because the circumference is the distance around a circle. And my formula, if I slide back up, C equals pi times d, because circumference is the long word. So I need times the diameter, the long part of the circle. And I know I don't know the circumference. I know pi is 3.14. The diameter, well, I know the radius is 6.8. Diameter is the whole distance. So if this side is 6.8, that means this side is 6.8. So I can either add the two numbers, or I can simply multiply it by 2. And I get 13.6. And since that's in my calculator, I'm just going to multiply 3.14 times the 13.6. And I get 42.704 thousandths. Double check that answer, 704 thousandths. And I didn't want to know what C was, I want to know how much fencing. So he will need 42.704, and what am I talking about? Feet of fencing. And actually, I should go back up here and add that this is space. And that's how we solve our problems. So the hardest part is figuring out, am I looking for circumference or am I looking for area? So I have 2 practice problems for you to do, and if you need to, write your formulas up here and think about, are we finding circumference, which is the distance around, or area, which is the distance inside of the circle? And after you finish that, I would like you to come up with some circles in life. I've already done pond, so you can write that down. And we've done a pool. And what are some other things in life that are in the shape of circles? And then over here, I want you to tell me an example of finding the circumference. What would I need to know about a pond that would have to talk about its circumference? And I might need to know about the space of land. Oh, no, sorry, that's not right, guys. I made a mistake. For circumference, I might, maybe if I'm putting circumference, remember that's around, the circumference is around, the distance around. Maybe I want to put rocks around the pond. So I might do rocks around the pond. And for area, that's where I'm going to do the space. The amount of space in my yard. And then for a pool, if I'm talking about the circumference, the distance around, then I might be talking about a fence. Maybe I'm putting a fence around my pool. So if I need to, if you would like to, you can draw lines to kind of keep them separated. So for a pool, if I'm talking about the circumference, I put a fence up. And if I'm talking about area, maybe it's the bottom of the pool. That would be area, along with the space in my yard, which I used up here for the pond. So come up with a couple more examples in life of circles. What would I be finding that would include the circumference of that object, and what would I be looking for the area? And if you have any questions, please write them down, and we'll discuss the questions and your examples tomorrow in class.